Hello and welcome to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. It's the weekend. It's October. It's Rivalry weekend. So many things going on. Are you ready to make some money? Go to fatjacksports.com and get signed up today. If you are betting the games, it's the only place you need to go to turn a profit. I'm your host, the Fat Jack. We're going to get you ready for this big weekend of sports. Let me bring in my co-host from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Brandon Rush. Brandon, how are you, buddy?
I'm swell. The fun to see some of these teams in the NFL that really don't know what the heck they're doing is really amazing, because you have paid professionals who are going out there and just make stupid decisions. The good news is anyone who's a client not making stupid decisions, because you again hammer out another great winning week.
Yeah, we're certainly going the right way. We talked about building momentum through September, which is exactly what we did. And then this last week, we won Thursday, we won Saturday, we won Sunday. We went 4-1 on Sunday with the selections and the opinions. Everything won, and as importantly, Brandon, we stayed away from a lot of these games that just were heartaches for people. I mean, we had the Jets, and I'm in London this week, as I know you know, and a lot of people out there listening know. And so that thing's going on at 4:00 in the morning. We had already 3-1 by that point. It was an opinion on the Jets. So I didn't even stay up and watch it, but I saw later that Mahomes is basically sliding in an area between the end zone and the 1.5-yard line where basically his body could barely go to get on the ground in enough time to basically heartbreak all of the Kansas City Chief bettors who had them minus the 9.5 points. So I would tell you this: if you're betting that game, you are with all of the general public. You are a general public bettor, and you don't deserve to win. I mean, the 94% of the money was on the Chiefs there. That's every $50 guy in the town.
Yep.
All the sharps were on the Jets. The casinos, it was the biggest decision for the casinos, for sports books in 4 years.
Oh my God. There was that many people that had Chiefs minus 9.5.
They could not stomach betting Wilson at quarterback.
No.
And they had to play Patrick Mahomes and and Taylor Swift and the whole group. They had to play him. And the biggest decision in 4 years, you got Patrick Mahomes sliding down the 1-yard line. Now, people will say, well, if he didn't do that, The bottom line is, if you're betting teams exactly like that, you're a losing sports bettor. So it was just a matter of time. You were either going to give it to him with the Chiefs, or you're going to turn around and give it to him with somebody else super popular that looked good on ESPN last week, playing a team with a bad quarterback. That's how you lose money. If you're tired of losing money, go to fatjacksports.com. As again, we were way into profit by the time that game even went off. We had the right side. If we hadn't had the right side, I wouldn't have said a word. I have a complaint coming up later in the show. And because I understand the slide down, but I have a complaint. I have found what I think is the worst rule in casinos as far as sports betting goes. I found the rule accidentally.
Oh, no.
And I'm going to complain about it. And we're going to talk about that in the second segment, but stay tuned for that, because I didn't know. This is the dumbest rule as far as how they grade games of anything I've ever seen in my life, and they need to change it immediately. It makes absolutely no sense. But it's not about sliding and covering late or intentional, any of the stuff that goes on within the game. I understand what's happening, and I understand some slide and some don't slide.
Mm-hmm.
You got to kind of live with that or without that, depending on your situation. But those will even out. But if you had the Chiefs last week, definitely stop betting on your own right now. Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today, and start winning. Brandon, what jumped out at you last week? You talked about the bad calls, the bad coaches. I mean, yeah, this time of year, there's going to be something to complain about no matter what. I mean, if it's not that, it's the officials. So what jumped out at you?
Besides people on social media freeze framing holding calls, that's been my biggest annoyance this week. But it was fun to see in college football that everyone kind of held serve. He had all the big name teams that went out and won games. I believe that every team in the top 25 that played this week won, with the exception of teams that obviously played other top 25 teams. But we haven't had that big mayhem week where you get 4 or 5 top 10 teams that lose in a week in college football, although I feel that's potentially on the horizon. So that was fun. But yeah, the disparity of you talked about the Chiefs, and how many people were on that game. I'm curious to know the number of people that were on Miami after a 70-point performance a week ago to then go on the road and lose by 28. I wonder, Jack, and I don't know if you know this, how many teams have won by 28 one week and lost by 28 the following?
Well, I talked about a stat last week that if there had been 7 teams that had scored 70 points in a game since 1970, by the way, lots of
Yes.
sevens here, but since 1970, there had been 7 teams that had scored over actually 60 points. Every single one of those teams turned around and did not cover the next week. There had not been one. So now it's 8 teams and 0 for 8 versus the spread the next week. You get that regression back to what they typically will do,
Yep.
almost like clockwork, especially when you play a pretty good defense. So I was shocked by how many points they did score in that game. I mean, it looked like nobody was going to stop anybody for a while. And to answer your question, they were not one of the people had pretty much split. The top bet games last week were the Chiefs, the Bengals, a couple of
Mm,
easy losses. The Vikings won, the Chargers won, Jacksonville won. Those all had 78 to 83% of the money. Then you go Seahawks, which were Monday night. The Eagles 9.5, they were a loser at 71%, and the Steelers at -3 at 71%. So the vast majority of the most public bet teams, not Miami in that group. I think people understood the danger of Buffalo, the danger of
sure.
going there, being a divisional game, all those type of things, and so they did spread out a little bit. But yeah, you had a bunch of the team. You had 4 of the top 7 that did not cover, including the Chiefs, which had 90% of the money. I mean, they
Mm.
just and who knows how many parlays on that deal. So,
Oh, I
uh,
know a handful of people that had it. What was interesting too for me, Jack, this past weekend was the first weekend in Kentucky that mobile betting was legalized. It started Thursday, and then to literally everywhere you went, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you heard someone talking about placing bets on mobile apps, and I it took all the willpower I had to not just scream from the rooftops, don't do that. And sign up at fatjacksports.com and all that stuff. I can honestly say I gave out the website 30 times this weekend just from
yeah,
overhearing conversations.
well, it will help people. I need to get you some business cards too with a promo code on it. I'll give them a discount and give you a little bit if they sign up. But what you're going to have in Kentucky for a while, in every state that legalizes it, are guys learning the hard way. I mean,
Yes.
this is sports gambling is not new. It's just new to people that are starting it for the first time. And
Hmm.
and it's important to remember that we know what it takes to win. It's not you and I, as an industry. The casinos, everybody knows what it takes to win. And everybody knows what most people do to lose. The question is if you're starting this for the first time, or if you've been maybe doing it for 20 years, do you do the same things that we know cause losing gamblers? We know parlays cause losing gamblers. They're fun. So is going to the fair and eating 10 corn dogs. But when you're throwing up at the parking lot, I mean, you know that was probably not the right choice. That's what you have in sports game. We know what causes losing. It's the question is, are you just going to blindly put your head in the sand and go ahead as a loser? And it doesn't make you a loser in life. We said this before, but if you want to be a continuing losing gambler, do that. Or worse, sign up for my service that goes to the 30th and then miss 4-1 on Monday the 1st. I mean, what is that? What does that move? It's not like we went broke. We were winning leading up to that. We hadn't had a
Hmm.
huge week, but we had been winning. How do you not extend for the weekend and get don't miss 4-1s
Sign
because
up
you
for
had a
the Super Bowl and you don't have to worry about when your package ends.
$70 a week or so to go through the Super Bowl, and you get the basis for free. We're on a 16-5 run heading into the playoffs. Come on, those are free. So if you're not going to do that, though, the question is you have to ask yourself is, do I understand what causes losing gamblers, and then
Mm.
am I going to choose to do that, or am I going to choose to do something else? I mean, that's always the question. But don't for 1 second think that you're reinventing the wheel just because you live in Kentucky or one of these states that they just legalized it. And you've now figured out, well, I should have been doing this forever. If I'd lived in Las Vegas, I'd be Kenny Rogers. I mean, that's just not it's not reality. So
I gave out seriously. I mean, I gave out the website to so many people, but like I went out to eat on Saturday night, and or Saturday afternoon, and they're talking about college football bets and all this other stuff, and I was literally like, all right, as I tip, I'm like, hey, by the way, Oregon -27.5. Just play it. That's a bigger tip than anything I'm going to be able to give you today. So how's that?
yeah, it at least gets them going on one thing. It's and I do that a lot. I will
Yeah.
do that a lot. And I don't send you when you ask for a free pick, I'll send you a free pick. But those type things I do. I say, this is what I do for a living. Don't bet your house on this, but this is going to give you a better than 50% chance of winning. So go ahead and try that and then and see if they'll at least take the advice and maybe that turns into more. It's hard to convince somebody that doesn't want to be convinced that
Hmm.
they should do something that'll help them. It's like anything in life. There's a lot of things that people just do or don't do. and they know it. They'd be better off for it, but they just, for whatever reason, don't do it. So if you want to do it, you want to start winning, go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up today, and start winning this weekend. It's going to be a big weekend. We've got rivalry weekend, Oklahoma, Texas. We're going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and do that right now, Brandon. Oklahoma, Texas. I didn't go over last week. I didn't add, but 4-1 Sunday. We won Saturday. We won Thursday. The opinions are killing it. Bases are killing it. The opinions broke even. Everybody won last week. So it was a good week for everybody. No complainers. And the UFC was off. So it was very difficult to lose in the UFC unless you were betting on two idiots in the alley fighting each other. So,
which I saw this weekend, by the way.
Ouch, that's no good. Anybody get hurt or just?
It was a quick right and then an arm bar. So it was a first round knockout or first round submission,
no.
I guess.
Oh no, the old arm bar, that'll get you every time.
That's sneaky.
Yeah, you don't know it's coming. The guy knows just enough jiu-jitsu to either choke you out or break your arm in two, and you're like, yeah, I should have known he was going to arm bar me. So OU Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Any other games jump out, or is this the one that you're interested in? This is a big one. I mean, before the season, Brandon, if I'd have said that these two teams would be in exactly this spot and playing for a ton right now, although I will tell you, unless one of them falls off the map, this is probably the first of two. And it certainly doesn't have to be. Both of these teams, neither of them are good enough to guarantee they're going to win every single week. But
no,
you could definitely see them playing again in the Big 12 championship game.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, if we talked about this game in July and you would have told me that both teams, looking at their schedules and knowing everything that they had, in the offseason leading into this September, that both teams were going to be undefeated and in the top 10 and game day is going to be at OU Texas, I would have been rather surprised.
Yeah, you did. At this point, we certainly didn't see Oklahoma's defense coming along that
No.
much. I will tell you an interesting stat. The line, you can bet on these games preseason. So if you're in August and you're in Vegas, you can bet on one of these teams to cover what the game would be. And this Texas OU game in July and August, when those numbers came out, was 7, and it's 6.5 now. So they actually got this one pretty right.
Or they thought that they were both going to be they're fairly even. So maybe not both undefeated, but maybe 4-1. If they penciled in that Alabama loss for Texas, and then maybe Oklahoma stubbing their toe against on the road to Cincinnati, or maybe SMU sneaking up there and getting them. But yeah, the line not moving in the course of 3 months is kind of intriguing.
Yeah, and it's not always the case. I mean, some of these, Notre Dame Duke moved like 8 points or 9 points. And some of these other games where somebody have lost early, the numbers really can vacillate. Alabama against basically anybody, you're giving up a lot less right now than you would have before, because they've had a loss and they haven't looked great offensively. So
right, other games this week, Bama goes to A&M. You got Colorado off a 2-game losing skid going to Arizona State. Undefeated Syracuse, or we're undefeated until last week, until Clemson. So, but they're playing UNC, so basketball schools good in football, and Kentucky, Georgia, an intriguing game because the Wildcats are undefeated. So, and Georgia looked very inept last week at times.
Yeah, there's going to be some we're going to learn a little bit this week. Last week one of the big games that I really kicked myself afterwards for not releasing was Kentucky. They were a favorite to Florida, and anytime you get that is almost a red siren bet. When you get a team that's ranked underdog to an unranked team, it doesn't happen every time. Yeah, I mean that's one of the big ones where you got to dig a little deeper. And I got kind of enamored with a little bit some other things on the card, and so I ended up not releasing it. But that was one of those that definitely, and it was never in doubt. I mean, we had to, I just brushed over last week, Brandon. But I will tell you, we were real close to having a monster week. I mean, Utah State spots 14. Do you see that game? I mean, unbelievable.
So yeah, 2 turnovers in the first 9 plays or something like that.
7 plays, yeah. They're down 14-0.
They storm all the way back, take the lead, give up a late touchdown. And at that point, when they give up the touchdown, I think, well, this goes to overtime.
It was a minute and a half, and they had to go 85 yards. I mean, it wasn't just to give up a touchdown. They got 90 seconds from a UConn team that's horrible, and they've just got to basically stop them. And their defense had done a good job all day, where they went into somewhat of a prevent. So, yeah, with under a minute to go, UConn scores, and you're still thinking at that point, okay, well, they tied up. We're giving 6, actually gone down to 4.5, but given 6 or so. You're like, oh, they tied up. They might win it in overtime. And then what happened?
Well, then they turn around and block the extra point. That was literally the worst case scenario in that situation. Yes, the team won. Anyone holding a Utah State -5.5 ticket like myself was kind of mad that they blocked the extra point, because I had pretty much conceded. All right, we're going to overtime, and we'll win this thing in OT.
I was mad when they gave up threw two interceptions the
Sure,
first 7 plays.
sure.
They're down 14-0 to a horrible team. Then it takes them the whole game to come back and be up 7. And then they give up an 85-yard drive with 90 seconds to play. That game, and I told myself, I'm in London, and that's the start of the day. And I told myself, I said, that's what you get for betting 2 crappy teams. I mean, these 2
It's
teams both stink. That's exactly what you get. It's like betting high school games. So, I mean, but luckily we rallied, didn't lose
right.
anything late. Everything won late, and then Sunday was great. So it ended up being fine. It's a little bit laughable, but you're at the time, you're like, what in the world? So,
And you know what?
oh,
In the grand scheme of things, when we're in Vegas for Super Bowl weekend, we won't remember that game.
yeah, nobody cares, and let's keep saying that because we need some good vibes on that. I'm checking room rates, and things are getting dicey. So,
Ooh, F1's there in a few weeks, and those
yeah,
hotel rates have been obscene for really since they announced it. But with the Super Bowl being in Vegas this year, it is
Flamingo
getting
$1,400 a night.
bonkers.
So
There's
that's a
part of me,
flamingo.
Jack, that's thinking, you know what? I'm ready to just fly in Saturday night, go to be there Sunday, and maybe take a red eye home Sunday. I really don't know. That's going to be an
Well,
interesting week.
Well, don't worry about it. I'm going to have a great plan between now and then.
Sure.
One way or the other, there'll be a great plan. We just got to figure it out. Oh, let's talk Oklahoma, Texas. We got to go break in a minute, but let's talk Oklahoma, Texas. Oklahoma, 5-0 against the spread their last 5. Playing much better defense. The top ranked or pretty highly ranked offense and defense. They've obviously won straight up 5 games in a row. Texas 5-0 their last 5. Under 5 of the last Texas 6 of their last game. 5 of the last Texas 6 games have gone under the total. Easy for me to say. Both these teams playing really well. Texas just behind Georgia in total defense, just above teams like Kentucky and Duke, who we talk so much about in total defense. Oklahoma down from there a little bit. They're sandwiched between Army and Missouri, so good defense, not as good defense. You flip over to the other side of the ball, you've got both these offenses have been respectable at least. Strength of schedule absolutely goes to Texas. I mean,
Sure.
Texas played Alabama. Wyoming is not as
Not a
bad of
pushover.
but Texas and offense is in the right. Also between Georgia and actually Georgia Southern. Texas and Georgia have very similar numbers on both sides of the ball. Offensively, Oklahoma higher than Texas and Georgia. Oklahoma is 3, 6, 7, 8, 9th in total offense. So, very intriguing game. It really is. It's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, gut says that Texas is better, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
always matter. We've shown up at this game. People have gone before, and Texas, Oklahoma were certainly not supposed to win by a lot more than this. I ended up winning, not just
Yeah,
covering,
I
but
mean,
winning. So,
it could be a season, and we've seen this game many times throughout the course of your and my lifetimes, where a team may be 3-8, but one of those 3 was the win in this game, when a game they had no business being in. I'm curious because the Oklahoma offense has protected the ball, which is something they hadn't done a lot, very much, especially last season. And Dylan Gabriel's playing a heck of a lot better. I saw a stat where he was 4th in quarterback efficiency, which is something that he and this offense hasn't seen in quite some time as well. So that's intriguing. It's going to be a obviously always a great atmosphere for the game, and neither one of these programs is going into this game with they're not going to be broken up or disheveled by the crowd being on top of them. They're going to be ready for this game. Nothing's going to catch them by surprise.
yeah, it's definitely must see TV on Saturday. So, if you want to win money, guys, we're going to have a big card this weekend. Go to fatjacksports.com. It's only $3.99 for all the football through Halloween. That's a lot of weekends for $3.99. And then if you go through the Super Bowl, it's $1,499. So it's about $70 a week to make money all the way through the Super Bowl. That's of course all the bowl games, NFL playoffs, the bowl analysis sheet, which is a predicted final score on every single bowl game, and much more. So be sure and do that and get signed up today. The plays, hopefully, if we figure out this system, are emailed to you. If not, they'll be getting to you some way. Email, text in the portal. You will get the plays to you each day. No hassle, no calling, nothing like that. So go get signed up at fatjacksports.com. Sign up today and start winning this weekend.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Hey, it's Brandon Rush from the Fat Jack Sports Service. If you want to stay in touch with everything related to the Fat Jack, follow us on all the socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, you name it. We are there at Fat Jack Sports. You can also watch the Fat Jack Sports Hour on YouTube every weekend. Plus, see funny clips from the show, see Jack's appearances on the nationally syndicated TV show Beat the Odds. Stay connected to the Fat Jack at Fat Jack Sports on all the socials and on YouTube.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host leading a charge from abroad. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 2. Big rivalry weekend. You want to make money, go to fatjacksports.com. Get signed up today and start winning. $3.99 everything through Halloween. A lot less expensive for the longer packages. Do not wait anymore. Now is definitely the time to get signed up and start winning for less than $100 a week for those longer packages. Or, of course, you can just get this weekend if you're going to Kansas or New Mexico or Illinois or one of the many, many states that has legalized sports gambling. Take plays with you. They're very inexpensive for the weekend, and they will get you into profit. Again, 4-1 last Sunday. We won Thursday. We won Saturday. We won Sunday. Very, very good weekend, and we're ready for another big week this week. So, worst rules in the sports book, Brandon. Here's the rule. And I just stumbled onto this rule because I placed a bet. I was killing time before I left. It is a baseball rule.
Oh,
in
boy.
baseball.
Okay. I know where this is going, unfortunately, I think, but go for it.
In baseball, Miami's playing the New York Mets on Thursday night.
Yep.
Last Thursday. Miami scores 2 runs in the top of the 9th to take the lead 3-2. All right, you follow me?
Yep.
They are at the Mets. So Miami's up 3-2. I have them. I have Miami. It's for a few $100. It wasn't a big deal. But anyway, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. It starts raining. All right, the Mets are down 3-2. Bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. So Miami needs one more out.
One pitch could end this game.
One pitch. All of it's done. It starts raining. They cancel the game. Do you know how they grade that? Are you aware of how they grade that?
So I didn't until I saw this scenario play out on social media over the weekend. It's a baseball rule, and then because of that, the sports books have to follow it, I guess.
It's a baseball rule, so that's a stupid baseball rule then.
Yes. So really, I think your complaint here is with the rules of baseball, not necessarily the sports book.
For those of you out there that are listening, here's what they do. Here's what baseball does. And so here's what the sports books do. The 9th inning does not count. So you scored 2 in the top of the 9th to take the lead. It was 2-1 Mets going into the 9th. Top of the 9th, Miami scores 2, takes the lead, and then gets 2 outs, and then they rain it and they cancel the game. So what baseball does is they act like the 9th inning never happened.
Yep,
they go back
the home team didn't get 3 outs. They didn't get their full half of the inning.
Okay.
So they can't end the game.
Brandon, okay. Here's what I want. I want the very minimum marathon running to take on this rule. And I really would like some other sports to do it also, but running seems to make, or how about this? I want golf to take on this rule.
Okay.
It's literally like if you ran a marathon and you ran 24 miles and then you pulled a hamstring or something happened. Anything happened and they just said, well, we're just going to, whoever was winning at the 24th mile, they get to win. Or you're playing golf, 16 holes in. Well, whoever's winning through 16, that gets to be the winner.
Yeah, you get a catastrophic weather event that comes through. They have to shut the whole thing down. And instead of just, hey, you were 26 under, but because you birdied 18 or you got an eagle on 18 to put you one shot ahead, they're going to roll it back to the 71st hole, and all of a sudden you finish third.
I understand the argument, and both of my examples are kind of bad because there are people behind them that have maybe completed 2 holes. But the point is at the very minimum, it's a refund. You don't
Right.
act like we didn't get in the DeLorean and go back in time and act like the ninth inning wasn't played. The ninth inning was primarily played. So I'm not saying that Miami has to win. I'm just saying, well, how am I losing that bet? How is that a thing where you're rolling back what's happened? This actually occurred in the game. And I understand that you're a couple of pitches away from the Mets winning in the bottom of the ninth. But at the very minimum, I shouldn't be losing that money. It should be a push. So absolute horrible, horrible rule. And absolute time to make a change somehow, some way. I just needed a vent because I looked up and I was like, what happened? And then I actually emailed the people at the casino, said, WTF, what are you guys doing? And they said, well, we roll it back. We acted like it didn't happen. Well, we have a DeLorean. We went back in time. Of course it occurred. It all occurred, except it started raining. How about this? Grow a pair and complete the game whenever it needs to be completed.
I mean, is it raining? I don't understand how it can rain for 3 innings, and then all of a sudden now we decide it's raining too hard.
Thank you.
Finish the game. Finish the inning.
Seems a little dicey. If we were playing for a spot in the playoffs, they might have thought different about that.
Which the Marlins were in the wild card race at that time. So,
all right, rules committee. Some of you guys are gamblers and listen to this show. You absolutely fix that. That is ridiculous. So FatJackSports.com. Luckily, it was baseball. It's nobody cares about because they're free. And it's a big football weekend. We're going to win again, so it's a good time to get signed up. In the NFL, Brandon, what are your thoughts on this weekend? Anything else? We didn't spend a lot of time on college. There are a ton of games in college. So what else jumps out at you in college?
Notre Dame, Louisville. This is the first test really for Louisville as an undefeated team, and really with Jeff Brom as the head coach for his team and program to really make a statement. Granted, Notre Dame isn't Notre Dame, but they're still a really good football team, a play away from potentially beating Ohio State and being undefeated. Interesting stat that I had stumbled across regarding this line. Jeff Brom has never lost outright as a home underdog or 7 points or more. Granted, a very small sample size, 2-0 with wins over Indiana and Ohio State back when he was at Purdue. But stats are stats, and then you got to believe what you want to believe. But Louisville opens as a touchdown underdog, and Jeff Brum has never lost as a head coach in that situation. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing. It's a sellout. I think it's only the second sellout in Louisville since 2019 or 2018. So they're fired up for that game.
Well, and we say Notre Dame's not Notre Dame. Maybe they are. I mean, if they could count to 11 and get a stop, maybe they are. I mean, this would be a big win. And the good news is that I think the we lost, we're going to circle the wagons and get it done this week. That happened last week against Duke. Duke, although it was a very formidable opponent, is not going to really get your attention on film. So their flat spot that they would have tried to overcome came last week. So this is really a sandwich spot. This is the back on the road, playing a hostile crowd against a team that wasn't supposed to. We talked about this preseason about how Louisville, the media had picked them to do literally nothing, and Vegas said, no, wait a minute. Their total was like 7.5 or 8 games.
I want to say it was 8, and we started looking at the schedule. There was maybe they're 2 games away potentially from locking up a spot in the ACC championship game at this point.
Yeah. So again, Vegas's power ratings were right. The media, which is not unusual, but the media was a bunch of idiots again who didn't know anything about what was going on. Notre Dame 6-1 straight up their last 7. Everybody talked about their road loss. They've won 6 of their last 7 on the road as well. Louisville, 5 of their last 5 they've covered. So they're covering each and every week. They're playing really good defense. Last week, defense is not as great, but the offense played really well. So this is a team that can win a lot of different ways. And as you're right, they're undervalued right now, certainly with the market. You're going to get the majority on Notre Dame in this spot. It may not be an overwhelming number because I think a lot of people, even the general public people, will see this as kind of a trap spot for Notre Dame back on the road and undervalued team. But I like Louisville in the game plus the points because of everything I said. I also like the under. People think this Louisville team a few years ago was scoring a bunch of points. That's not really, generally speaking, the way they're winning a bunch of games right now. They are playing good defense, winning time possession, not turning the ball over, those type things, and getting it done. And 51.5. Kind of a medium total. That's a lot of touchdowns. So I get a few field goals out of those early possessions. This thing probably sails under. So under the total in that one as well. Alabama and A&M before we turn to the pros, Brandon. Any thoughts on that? I mean, you've got this Alabama team that ranked 11th in the country, only 2.5-point favorite on the road against Texas A&M. That's 4-1 also. Obviously, horrible place to play in Texas A&M, very difficult, and they will have them rocking because this is basically an elimination game for both these teams as far as anything goes. You're not going to lose 2 and make it anything significant. If it was in Tuscaloosa, I would say, Alabama's probably 6.5, 7-point favorite. But
we
because
saw
they have to
A&M
go on
win
the
there
road,
last year. So
yeah, exactly. This becomes a really, really difficult spot. And although it's delusional, Texas A&M athletes and fans believe that they're supposed to win this game every year. I mean, they feel like you talk to these teams in the off these type A&M people in the off season,
mm-hmm.
and they will tell you, I mean, yeah, we're every bit, and we've got the NIL money and and we're recruiting these players that they want. So this is the Super Bowl for them.
We saw Spencer Rattler last week, Jack, say that in postgame that Tennessee, when they played their game, that South Carolina was their Super Bowl. No. The A&M is definitely thinking this is their Super Bowl, and no program in the history of college athletics has ever had a more overinflated sense of self-worth than A&M has. And we're talking historically. And you're right. They have all their eggs in this basket. And if they lose, Jimbo may as well pack up.
Yeah, 9-1. Alabama 9-1 straight up their last 10 in the series. So it has not been a series that's been kind to Texas A&M. But this Alabama team is certainly not the Alabama team we've seen lately. So by the way, cancel everything for Saturday. There's great games all up and down the board. So
playoff baseball is on. I mean, yeah, if you're going out and you're making plans to do anything this weekend, it's not Saturday.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. So go to fatjacksports.com. Only $399 will get you everything through Halloween, or less expensive when you go through the Super Bowl. So we turn to the NFL, Brandon. We take a break. We want to turn to the NFL.
Let's look at the NFL real quick. There are some intriguing games, and I think that this might be a week where a high-profile quarterback gets shut down for the season after a game this week.
Who? I mean,
Joe Burrow.
Justin Fields, no.
If the Bengals,
Joe Burrow, yeah.
Yeah, they're playing the Cardinals, who, I mean, granted, they got that win against the Cowboys. They were game against the 49ers until they really just got outmatched. If they lose this game and drop to 1-4, it would not shock me for the Bengals to be like, hey, you know what? We need to protect our investment. Joe Burrow, obviously not 100%, and it's not going to get better as the season progresses. They're already, 2 games down in the division. If they drop to 1-4, do not be shocked if the Bengals put Joe Burrow on a shelf and we'll see him in 2024.
Yeah, these are conversations for the middle of November, not the first week of October. But you're right. I mean, the stars have kind of aligned with them. Burrow's only averaging 180 yards a game. I mean, they can't protect him. They have very little to no running game right now, and their defense is just okay. So they're a 3-point favorite on the road at Arizona, and we've seen what Arizona can do. Not only against Dallas, they've outperformed the market almost every week. So
they've been a lot more physical than I think a lot of people believe that they potentially were going to be, and they're a feisty bunch. We saw James Conner get into a fight with a 49er linebacker after the game last week. So even after the game was over, they're still ready for more, it appears.
Yeah, we talk about tanking and all those different things. Nobody tells the players that. I mean, there's not a fax machine that goes into the locker room and says, hey, you guys better start losing. We want to get Caleb Williams. That's not a thing. Players play because they understand they are one bad series of games away from being out of the league and selling insurance or something.
Yep.
And so they do
that
not
job at
care.
FedEx is always going to be there.
Yeah, they do not care about tanking and care about players in the draft and all that that's not important to them. They're playing for their livelihood. So you're going to get worse players at times that are out there, but it goes back to that parity in the league. There's so much parity in the league. You can't look at a guy that just because you know him and he's on ESPN all the time, the difference between him, especially if you're not talking about quarterback, the difference between him and a guy that you've never seen before that played Emporia State or something that's in the league is not that great. That's why you have teams like Arizona beating Dallas straight up as a 14-point dog. And some of these games that happen, it's because there are enough good players. Some of it's like recruiting. You look at the school, how did Appalachian State beat somebody great? Well, it's because some talent scout or recruiter thinks that a guy is great or supposed to be really good, and he dismisses another player that ends up at Emporia State or Appalachian State or someplace like that, it doesn't mean there's that much difference in their athletic ability on the field. And these teams in the NFL, they have guys that are only paid to figure out how to get the best players that probably nobody's heard of. And so these free agents and late draft picks, those guys can play. So yeah, you are getting a better team, but if you're not, it's marginal. And so it's not as much, especially at quarterback, it's not as much as people think. That's why general public struggles so much betting games, is because they do not understand some of these fundamental rules that I build my business on. So fatjacksports.com, $3.99, everything through Halloween, or less expensive longer term. Ravens go to the Steelers. The Steelers, another team. We talked about Cincinnati and how bad they are. The Steelers are in the bottom 5 or 6 of the league in offense and defense, Brandon. This is a team that they got some problems right now.
They absolutely do. They have more 20-point losses in the last, I want to say 18 games than they had in the first 15 years under Mike Tomlin. There is a massive gap between what this team is and what it could be. And this is a staggering output offensively and really defensively for a team that really is a team that carries the flag for the NFL. This is uncharted territory for Steelers fans, because they have not seen this kind of ineptitude on the field in a while.
Yeah. So, be real careful if you're betting them, because it's not just, we talk about symptoms of a bigger problem, or if it's just a bad spot. We talk San Diego or the Chargers earlier in the year. We talked about the only team to score 50 points, no turnovers, would be 0-2. That was maybe a symptom that wasn't indicative of what the type of team they were. When you, at this point, week 4, 5, and 6, are in the bottom 5 or so of offense and defense, you've got some problems. And oh, by the way, Pickett got hurt last week. So this is not a team, I don't know, Mitchell Trubisky going to need to put his cape back on, I guess. So figure something out there, because they have got major problems on both sides of the ball. Things are not working out for them. So if you want them to work out for you, though, go to fatjacksports.com. We have a huge weekend coming up. We're going to make a ton of money, and it is a very good time to get signed up and start winning.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.
Welcome back to the Fat Jack Sports Hour. And now here is our host wrapping up a fantastic week in England. He is the Fat Jack.
Thank you, Brandon, so much. Fat Jack Sports Hour, segment number 3. Going to get you into some profit and then get out of here. The only problem with being here, I'm in London all week for filming some stuff for the TV show, doing a bunch of radio and different things. The main problem, I love London. The fans are great. People here love the 87,000 plus fans, Brandon, to watch Atlanta and Jacksonville.
We are not sending America our best, or sending England our best teams, but hey, I'm glad that they're showing up and they're having fun. Another fun game this weekend. Jags Bills. Yeah,
in droves. Actually, they are filing in droves. 87,000 plus at Wembley Stadium, and having a great time. And a lot of them have obviously piggybacked the Jacksonville Jaguars, because they're owners from here, and they're kind of the main reason why we're over here. I will tell you this, though, Brandon, Jacksonville's got some big holes. I mean, Atlanta in the secondary is not very good, and Trevor Lawrence, he reads a defense about like my wife. I mean, I'm just telling you, he does not go to his second option. He runs way too fast. He doesn't stay in the pocket. He reminds me of some of these college quarterbacks. I mean, right now you can tell he is confused about the offense they're running. He is not going through his progressions. And frankly, he's not hitting all open receivers either. But there are guys literally running wide open against Atlanta's secondary, and he's missing. It tells me two things. Number one, we will be betting against Atlanta's secondary the minute they play somebody that's good, have a quarterback that can read. And more importantly, don't take too much away from Jacksonville's win. They catch Buffalo this week. And I will tell you, Jacksonville had been, they needed to circle wagons, needed to win, but I do not think I think they're in trouble this week. So
they need to go back to Doug Peterson calling plays. When Philadelphia was good, Peterson was calling plays. When Jacksonville, I think with everything, all the pieces they have a talented receiver core. They got a great running back. Offensive line could use a little work, but if Doug Peterson starts calling plays again for this offense, they might be able to turn things around. But you're right, Trevor Lawrence has some flaws, and I don't know that he's really got the quarterback coach to really guide him along. Although that's Doug Peterson's MO, so there's definitely some flaws there.
They have some holes. It's not a mistake that they're not winning a lot of games. You know,
Mhm.
that they're losing more than they probably should, because they have some fundamental issues that when you watch them live in a situation like that, you can tell this team's got some problems. So
Yep.
that's definitely bad. But the biggest problem about being over here is the time. I mean, we have games like Monday night game will start like at 2 o'clock in the morning. So what does that look like? I mean, am I up all night, all day and all night, or do you just, wait and do it tomorrow? That's typically what I do, is like, because I get up so early, it's still the middle of the night in America, I'll go back, rewatch the game no matter what happens, so that I'll know what happened. But
Right.
definitely the time is certainly a thing. So, but excited about this weekend. Go to fatjacksports.com, get signed up. But I said this before I came over here. I've never lost on a week when I've been in London or Germany for that matter. Every single time I've been here, we've won. And this last week we won. Like I say,
So
4-1 on Sunday. So whatever
that
I'm
poses
doing, we're doing it right.
right. That poses a question though. Having never
What's that?
lost on the European continent, have you thought about just moving to
Staying
England?
here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd have about the same amount of friends probably. So I mean, I'm traveling so much right now. Even my friends aren't,
Forget what you look like almost.
yeah, I forget what I look like. I'll see a month at a time, So, but yeah, no, I don't know that I could watch the game, but I will make more trips over here if that becomes a problem. So luckily I win from most continents. So there are very few spots that I go to and we don't win. So what else in the NFL jumps out at you, Brandon?
Eagles Rams this week. Eagles go west, playing a team that has starting to at least kind of figure things out, and they're getting Cooper Kupp back soon. This Puka Nacuna kid, I'll be honest, I think I saw him play at BYU one time, and now he has set an NFL record for the most catches and most yards by any wide receiver in the history of NFL in his first 4 games. So Sean McVay can find some nuggets from some smaller schools.
Yeah, I'll tell you the biggest problem with the Rams. And by the way, I've released the Rams a couple times in the last week, including the total. This last week was an easy winner. The problem with them, and this will be a problem against Philly, is they're not protecting the passer when you have really good front 4 guys. I mean, you look a couple weeks ago, and they didn't protect the passer at all. This last week, they did a better job, but that's because they weren't getting as much pressure from the initial front 4.
And that front of the Eagles is ferocious. I mean,
It's
that's
next
a
level
top
good.
3 the NFL in the
Yeah.
NFL defensive line. Yeah.
So I kind of think this is one of those games where when people are zigging, they should be zagging and back and forth. I mean, if you look at the game 2 weeks ago, you're like, well, Rams can't protect anybody. Well, I knew that they were not going to see that type of front every single week, and then last week was a good get well spot for them, especially offensively. And that's why we played the Rams and the over in that game, won both. But now people are like, oh, well, that looked better. They must have figured some things out. Not so quick. I mean, I would be careful about jumping on that. You kind of got to know when to ride, when to get off, and that's one of the ways you make money in this. And so I would probably, I don't know that I would play Philly necessarily, but I would probably get off and make them prove that they can protect with a really good front 4, because they're getting, as you said, one of the best in the league this week. So
other NFL games this weekend that have my attention, Jack. Kansas City going to Minnesota. So we got to see Kansas City on the road. I don't know if Taylor's making the trip to Minneapolis, but if she does, she may see a Minnesota Vikings team that is desperate for a win.
Yeah. How long before she looks up and says, what am I doing with my life? I understand that I'm, taking a break. This week was easy. He has Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively, but who's she going to get in? Colonel Sanders in Minnesota?
That's Kentucky. I mean, and Prince is dead, so I don't know if there's anybody in Minnesota she's going to be able to hang out with.
Yeah, so she's now she's inviting her friends. Now it's just I don't know. Maybe they have stuff in common. I just think if I'm gonna date a football player, it's more advantageous for me to date a football player during football season. But from a relationship standpoint, you probably don't want them in the middle of the season. I mean, how much time can he actually give to her? Are they going to dinner afterwards? I mean, he's gonna get back on the plane. I mean, are they Skyping? I don't know what they're doing to build a relationship, which leads me to believe it's probably just all a scam. Well, how long is this scam going to last? I mean, it's been great for the NFL.
So you're on the record thinking that this is a farce?
I don't think it's a planned farce. I think that he wants to hit get after it with Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift is bored because she just got off her 9,000 month tour,
right?
And wants to take a break, and it gives her something to do. But no, do I think these two are getting married? No. I'll give this old 97-year-old bachelor a better chance of getting married to whoever he comes up with. than or 72 or however old he is than these two.
Oh, the Golden Bachelor.
The Golden Shower Bachelor. Yes, I will give him a better chance of getting married to whoever he finds than Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I just think
T Swizzle. I don't see that. Although we do know, while the relationship won't work, her next album definitely going to be about Travis.
I hope so. I mean, that's the only reason. I love Taylor Swift, but I mean, sure. I don't know. The whole thing's ridiculous. If she shows up in Minnesota, I'm probably going to be more cynical then than I would otherwise. What's that about? Are they giving him free time after the game? Is this a high school game? I mean, the way I understand it, he gets to get back on the plane. He's doing pregame stuff before. They're going to play an NFL game, then he's get back on the plane and go home.
Yeah, he's flying back with the team. He ain't flying back with Taylor.
Yeah, so she'd be better off meeting him in Kansas City if she wanted to actually develop a relationship. Is that wrong? I understand she wants to watch him, but I don't know. The whole thing's weird. So, but it's to give us something to talk about. So sure. I don't mind that. Final thoughts before we get out of here?
Dallas, San Francisco this week, a great game too. So we'll see if Dallas is for real, or really if San Francisco is for real. If either one of these, if Dallas wins, huge plant the flag moment for them. If San Francisco wins, might as well start making plans for Vegas.
People are gonna gain so much weight this week. Who's not gaining 10 pounds this week? When are you leaving the house? What do you do? This is ridiculous. I mean, Saturday and Sunday are full of great football, and Grubhub and Postmates have made it too easy not to eat everything inside. This is a ridiculous weekend for the fitness buffs because.
Well, and on top of that, Jack, like Halloween's around the corner, so we were at Target on Sunday. Let me tell you, Halloween candy in abundance.
This is like when the celestial moon crosses the equator and the eclipse comes at the same time, and then some asteroid runs within 500, all at the same day during a high tide. I mean, that's what this is. This is the perfect storm of fat. I mean, everybody's going to gain 10 pounds this weekend, and between now and the end of the month, we're going to look back. There's going to be some New Year's resolution. We need to invest in gym membership on some not puts, but some whatever they are when they go up in January, because there's going to be some people come January, they're going to need some resolutions that involve a gym membership.
Every week, Jack, I try to find one line, one quote, one theme of the show so I can name it the podcast. So it's like, hey, episode 7, blah, blah, blah. Perfect storm of fat. The title of this week's episode of the Fat Jack Sports Hour, now available on podcast, wherever you get podcasts.
You know, when Golden Shower Bachelor does not win, that it's been a big week.
Right. I mean, last week was panty dropping information. Now we got perfect storm of fat. Like, this is award worthy content.
I don't know why everybody doesn't figure that out. So go listen to the podcast, the show. We're going to break down a couple more things there. Get you ready to make some money this weekend. Everybody have a great week. Until next week, for Brandon and the Fat Jack, this has been the Fat Jack Sports Hour. Have a great week.
Hey guys, this is the Fat Jack. Are you finally ready to get a better plan betting the games this year? Let me help. Go to fatjacksports.com, where we understand that it's not the gambling she hates, it's the losing. fatjacksports.com.